All right, folks, let's get started. Welcome to today's event where we're going to talk about the future of publisher first-party data collection. Wanted to start off by introducing our guests. First, myself, I'm Elliot Easterling. I'm the CEO of Bonbon Technologies. We're a cross-publisher rewards platform that helps publishers drive registration engagement with rewards. I'm joined by my co-host, Lucy Rogers, who's in charge of building out the publisher and partner ecosystem for LiveRamp that is essentially, rebuilding addressability one publisher, one user at a time. She's doing the good work of really helping publishers reinforce their ad businesses. Lucy is not just like really sharp and smart. She's actually just a fantastic person and a fantastic partner. If you haven't worked with her, I would recommend you do. She's just like a blessing to work with. Also wanted to introduce Andy Wilson. He's a technologist with an MBA. Funny enough, he started his career as a webmaster as his first job and has gone on to have a really storied career across Meredith, Dotdash, a360media, and that's where he serves now as the Chief Digital Officer. And I will let Lucy introduce the agenda.
Great. Thanks, Elliot. Excited to be here with you and Andy today. Yeah, so everyone, we're excited to take you through the agenda. We're going to kick things off with a fireside chat with Andy. And so we'll talk to him about the future of publisher first-party data. And then Elliot and I will cover off on some strategies around creating effective value exchanges as it relates to first-party data. And then at the end, we will have a QA session. We want this to be interactive though, so feel free at the bottom here of the webinar, there's a QA box. Feel free throughout the webinar to submit questions and we will make sure to get to those.
Yeah, but we'll have some time.
So let's get.
Yes, sorry. I
Sorry.
was going to say, Lucy,
Go
we'll have
ahead.
some time also with Andy to answer some questions. So feel free to start asking questions as we start to the fireside.
Yeah, exactly. Great. So, Andy, let's get started. In today's publisher ecosystem, first-party data collection is becoming more and more critical, as you know. So, what are some of the biggest challenges that A360media has faced when it comes to authentications and first-party data collection?
Great. Thanks, Lucy. Data collection and authentication are becoming critical factors to success for all digital media companies, and the challenges have really remained the same. It's critical first to build your relationship with your visitors. So that starts with strong, recognizable brand, quality, in-depth content, and a good user experience. Then how quickly do you show the visitor the value exchange for providing more data about themselves? This is really the largest challenge, as it's not a one-size-fits-all type of problem to solve. Yes, some of the visitors may respond to a simple subscribe to my newsletter, but most won't. So then what other value exchanges do you need to create to improve the number of visitors sharing their data with you? This was the main reason that we were so excited when we first spoke with Elliot and Bonbon, as they presented a very simple, easy to understand value exchange. Provide your first party data in exchange for entries into a sweepstakes for a prize that matched their interest. And then they could do that at scale across all our properties. So that was one of the main reasons we went with them.
Cool. Makes tons of sense. So,
Great.
anyway, as we kind of think about, value exchanges, a lot of publishers really struggle to get users authenticated or provide consent in data collection. What strategies have worked best for A360media in terms of overcoming those hurdles?
Yeah, I think we've tried a lot of the same different tactics that a lot of other publishers have tried over the day. Premium content behind the wall, whether that's a metered registration wall or a hard gate, newsletter sign up. We've implemented games, polls, quizzes, answer a bunch of questions and register to see the answers. Integrated community, so register to comment, to follow a celebrity or a TV show. Live blogging, a lot of different ways to get users to engage and provide us with information. And all of these have worked to some extent and provided a lot more visibility. And when we get someone to register, they're so much more engaged and involved in our site. But a lot of them, they're difficult to get up and running and continue to support. So continuing to try to find more ways to get users to authenticate is extremely important for us.
How do you think, it just seems like managing all these partners can be kind of complicated, right? It seems like there's a lot of players who play different roles, and how do you guys think about that, like your partner stack and your tech stack, and how does that kind of all fit together?
We're always trying to, manage that list of partners that we have. We want to have fewer partners that are more connected with and able to provide more services, so we don't have to manage 18 different partners and passing the data around, and all that gets complicated, as you said, and costly. So how do we, consolidate partners and really try to find few partners that can generate the most lift for us in terms of authentication?
Cool.
That's great. It sounds like you've tried a lot of different strategies, which is something that Elliot and I will get into too later on. Is there is no one size fits all when it comes to value exchange partners and methods. How do you balance user experience and data collection, especially when a user might be reluctant to register or sign up on your sites?
Yeah, very carefully. We visitors coming to our sites have for celebrity and entertainment news have several different choices of where they can go to get that news, and we need to ensure we're providing a great experience. So we can't act like when someone first comes and visits our site, it's going to be the last time, right? Throwing everything at them, making sure we're getting our advertising revenue, we're capturing the user data, we're promoting the net related content to get to the next page. We can't bombard them with all of that at once. I think I always look at it as on your first date, you're not going to ask somebody to marry you, right? You want to at least go to the second or third date. So not bombarding them right away, getting them to come back and enjoy the experience, engage with the site, learn more, because the more they come back, the more visits that you get, the more likely they are going to be to register and provide you with that data, because you're building that relationship, you're building that trust. So looking for ways that you can try to collect that data. You still have to have things that are in front of them and asking. They're not going to go seek out how to provide data to you. So you still have to get in front of them and ask, but maybe not, instead of bombarding them right away, it's as they scroll down the page and begin to engage with the content, or when they click to a second page, you then ask them for that user information, and making sure that you're promoting the type of engagement opportunities like comments, games, quizzes, polls, where you're going to get more people to provide you with that.
And one of the things that keeps coming up, I think, is publishers kind of think about weight on the page versus content. And anytime you're asking or trying to do something that's not, get someone to read, it just creates weight. How do you think about that? And I think there's considerations from an SEO perspective, but also kind of your ad score. And so, like, I feel like this is something a lot of publishers struggle with, is that dimension. How do you think about it, and what are your recommendations there?
Yeah, I mean, we're always looking at it. And I think you always have to look at it, because you can get overweight very easily if you're not paying attention to that.
Yeah.
So making sure you're limiting the amount of code that's on your page, because page speed is extremely important to user experience, to that ad score, to your SEO score, that you really have to pay attention to that. And so we just make sure that the technology on the page, what is adding to the page weight, is having a value that outweighs that, right? So you're
Yeah.
always looking at that and changing out the partners and moving some out and moving some in. You can't just always be adding partners. You have to also deprecate some partners that aren't holding their weight anymore.
Yeah, makes tons of sense. And I think this is just a continued struggle. Just like thinking about both short-term benefits, and then which is ad revenue now, and then long-term benefits, which is building first-party data. What are the recommendations do you think what you would have for publishers on thinking through that balance of short versus long-term? Because everyone's got to hit their numbers this quarter, this month, and at the same time, we got to invest in the future. And so, is there something there, and advice or wisdom you can kind of offer to folks?
I mean, I think making sure you always do have a balance. I think it's very easy to get caught in the short-term trap, and I got to hit my number right now, and really focusing all on short-term, and that leaves you into a really big problem down the road. So ensuring that you're continuing to do a little of both, and you are investing some of the technology in space to promoting that long-term vision.
Yeah.
Great. So, obviously the Google announcement to keep third-party cookies within Chrome has been quite the discussion within the ecosystem recently. So I'm very curious. I get this question all the time, but what is your take? And then as a publisher, have you changed your strategy in what you're doing in terms of first party data because of that announcement, or have you kind of continued on?
Yeah, Google's been making a lot of noise recently across a lot of different fronts. First, I wasn't surprised a lot about their decision. It was clearly in their best interest to keep the third-party cookie alive a little longer, and I think the correct one for the industry at the time. To your question on has it changed our strategy? No. We're still strongly in belief we're on the right path and that building strong first-party data set will provide us a competitive advantage with or without the existence of the cookie and will put us in a much stronger position down the road where I still believe they will eventually eliminate the third-party cookie.
Yeah, and I think to your point exactly, where we are at LiveRamp are along the same line, I think along the same lines, right? 50% of the web is already cookieless, signalless, when you think about Safari and Firefox. And then also thinking about other channels, right? App and connected TV are also completely cookieless. So if you are a marketer and you want to have an omni-channel strategy and want to be able to find the users everywhere, then of course, it's already authenticated users are the way to go and in that. So glad to hear that you're aligned on that as well.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because, I've been in some conversations with publishers like, hey, what impact you've seen in terms of a CPM on Safari? And they're like, well, we don't track that. We don't track the difference between Safari and Chrome. And it's just like, I think a lot of times publishers are so just in the here and now that just don't like they can't actually connect with the problem. They haven't realized they've had such a big impact on Safari. And then what's really interesting on Chrome is that I've talked to some investors like, oh, didn't Google just kick the can down the road? It's like cookies are fine now. And really the truth is that, Google doesn't want to make the hard decision. I personally believe that Google wants to get rid of cookies, but they don't want to do the hard work given kind of the spotlight on them. What they're doing is they're going to basically let the Chrome privacy team do the dirty work, which is, hey, we're going to make this opt-in through featuring Chrome. I know the Chrome privacy team wants to get rid of cookies. And I think at the end of the day, when that feature is released, you're just going to see cookies just disappear like overnight, like dramatic reduction, a further like 80% reduction, I think, on Chrome of cookies. And if 80% of the cookies that are left disappear on Chrome, that's just going to leave a lot of publishers who are not planning now flat-footed. Um, so I think that's the concern is I think people sort of like out of sight, out of mind, and they're not kind of planning for what will eventually be future. A, the present state, which is cookies are gone on a lot of the inventory, and then B, they definitely going to be disappearing on the rest of your inventory.
Yeah, I agree.
And totally to your point, we don't know what the opt-in rate is going to be, similar to when, Apple made the same changes for apps. So I'm very curious. It may end up being that a large majority of the users opt out, and therefore we are basically in a cookieless environment. Agree.
Great. I want to kind of go back to one thing around first party data and kind of jump into this notion of segmentation and audience building. I think there's a lot of hype around customer segmentation for publishers, and I feel like it's sort of like this aspirational goal that publishers have to be able to build really interesting segmentation models. And we're sort of talking about it. How do you think about segmentation and personalization? And how have you guys approached this to start? And then kind of where do you see the industry going? Like, what does the future hold in kind of this post kind of cookie world? How do you kind of thinking through the whole market map?
Yeah, great question, Elliot. I love this area. I've been playing with this in a long time. What we have been doing today is using contextual signals to help build out our data segmentation. We utilize AI tools to determine the context of every article we publish to the site. And then we use that information to put visitors into over about 250 or so segments that we have in BlueConic, which is our customer data platform. These segments could be anything from high engagement entertainment lovers. So that's visitors who have visited entertainment content, spent over 10 minutes in the past 60 days, or it could be something as small as Taylor Swift fans who love cats. And then we utilize these segments to help personalize our site, serve the best content to the visitor that they most want from us using this data. and then to help target our advertising to better serve the right advertising to the right visitor. Now, moving forward, we want to collect more first-party information through all of these ways that we've talked about to help make these segments even better and to help talk about how we make the personalization down to even a lower level.
Makes tons of sense. And how do you think about direct sales versus programmatic? So like the sort of like direct sales is programmatic, and then there's contextual, and then cookied, or cookied, or cookieless ID'd, and then contextual. How does that grid kind of work out in your head, and kind of where are your kind of key investments?
I mean, first and foremost, we want to do what we can for our direct advertisers and creating these segments and help putting them into campaigns as we're out pitching our direct advertising team. And then we next look at the programmatic world and what can we do to create these unique first party contextual segments that are unique to our audiences that we can go out and make available for sale.
Makes tons of sense. I want to remind folks that there is a Q&A button on the bottom of your screen. We'd love to receive some questions for Andy. We're going to have some time for him to answer some of those. Where do you just to kind of like think the second part of kind of like this question was like, where do you see like audience segmentation going, and what are some of the trends? Kind of what are you guys? How are you thinking about sort of the future of segmentation? Is this more the same, or do you think there's going to be some interesting opportunities for development?
No, I think there's a lot of opportunities. I mean, you can't have a webinar in 2024 without bringing up AI, right? So I
Right.
think as we look at AI and how we model the data that we're collecting, both contextual and first party, what can we do with that in terms of creating user experiences that are more engaging or advertising that's more performant? So I think there's a lot of changes we're going to see in this next year as we all start utilizing AI more. I also think it's going to be a bigger challenge to collect first-party data. I think that bar is getting raised in terms of what the consumer is expecting in return for providing data to publishers. So as that bar continues to be raised, I think we need to make sure we're doing a good job in offering value for the data that they're providing.
Yeah, makes tons of sense. So let's kind of think about looking forward. What changes or trends do you see in the first party data landscape for publishers? How should they prepare for those shifts? Kind of like beyond kind of some of the stuff we've talked about.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really generating those experiences that are more likely to lead to a consumer sharing data with you. So, and weaving that into the overall customer experience as seamlessly as you can so that you're building up that collection of resources. And then once you do collect that first party data, how do you engage with those consumers and ensure you're getting them to come back and re-engage with you, so you're building up that first party data audience more and more as time goes on.
Great. And along outside of just first party data, if you had to sort of what else are you expanding in terms of the ecosystem? Any sort of bets on the future? I know you mentioned AI, but other areas that you're betting on for the future?
We are really focused on AI and all the ways that we can work with the different AI tools and make us more efficient, more performant, provide better user experiences. So we've got a lot of different efforts going on there, significant in first party data, but then also what can we do with our content and continue to develop higher quality, more in depth, and provide that user experience that no one else can deliver.
Great. Exciting.
And on the personalization side, Andy, how do you think about that? Because let's just dig in that a little bit.
Yeah.
How do you connect? Like walk us through maybe the mechanics of, to the degree you can share. Someone comes to a site, first visit, one-time visitor, multiple-time visitor. How do you guys think about that user journey, profiling, and then ultimately building advertising assets, that can be converted into real revenue?
Yeah, it's complicated. We, as many media companies, have a lot of first-time visitors where we don't know anything about you, right? And so what can we gather from the data we do have to personalize that experience as much as we can. So the type of content you're viewing right now, what browser you're on, you on mobile or desktop, did you come from social or did you come from search? Utilizing all the data that we have on a consumer and the content they're consuming to provide that personalized experience. Now, if we have data on you, then we can definitely utilize that. And we're using AI models to help ensure that we're giving you the best next piece of content that you are most likely to view, which for you, Elliot, may be different than it is for Lucy.
And then how do you measure success around that? How do you think about success? Is it based like engagement, RPM? Like how are you guys thinking like, now, and then what do you think the future of kind of like, analytics and measurement around some of this is going to look like?
Yeah, I mean, analytics is needing to pick up with all the personalization we're doing. It gets harder and harder to track the more personalized you get, right? So you need a more sophisticated analytics tools and measurements in order to ensure that you're measuring success the correct way. But we are mostly focused on time spent and engagement. So how can we continue to improve the experience? Because we believe that the more engaged you are, the more time you spend, more pages you view, that's going to develop that trust and relationship that's going to have you come back and seek out more content from us, which will help us continue to grow our advertising, our first party data, and continue to provide better advertiser experiences.
Makes a lot of sense. We have a question here from someone from the audience. Basically, he says, first party data contextual, no brainer, and good to hear approaches here very aligned. How about the addressability areas that are more probabilistic? Leveraging IP device to connect to spines to build the audiences in a similar fashion to enhancements to first party data. What place future do those have? So
yeah, we're utilizing some of those more those signals that are coming in order to, especially on first time visitors where we don't have any other information. That's probably where we're using that most to determine what content we serve, what content we recommend, how we may want to approach them in terms of what we serve up next in terms of them providing their first party data. Do we offer them a sweepstakes, or do we offer them a game or a poll or a quiz that they're more likely to engage with?
cool. And then, we have a couple more minutes here. Last question maybe is, someone just who sort of has been dissuaded from first party data collection says, we don't have anything. We don't have value exchange. We don't have any reason to collect data. We've sort of tried the newsletter thing. You get 0.1% of people to sign up for the newsletter.
Yeah.
What would you recommend for these, folks who are kind of just starting out, to kind of dip their feet in the water and get going?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to try different things. Every audience is going to respond a little differently to depending on whether you're a broad audience, general, or you're a niche audience and into a specific topic. But I would start and I would try different areas. I think in the later part of your presentation, you're going to go through a lot of the different things that many publishers are doing in order to collect first party data. And I would just pick a place to start and try things. And if they don't work, I would go to the next one. It's just too important to begin to collect this first party data, and it's going to make your advertising perform better. It's going to allow you to service consumers better as they visit the site. That you really have to start and learn what's going to work with your audience, because you'll be able to find something.
Yeah, makes tons of
Yeah.
sense. And then Jason just came in with a question here. Jason White. Thanks, Jason, for asking one. Is there an 80-20 at play in optimizing user path, i.e. X amount of cohorts that you tailor an experience for, like an e-commerce user, video viewer, content only consumer, one and done, like you mentioned?
Absolutely. I'm hopeful that we'll be able to go past the 80-20 if we can figure out some things with AI and
Yeah.
really personalize down to more than that. But we are very much focused on the larger audiences and cohorts today. People most likely to view videos. So if you have video viewers, how can you provide them a more video first experience? People more likely to be shoppers. So we want to put them into our affiliate content and get them more shopping content. So yes, we are very much focused on that 80-20 right now. But we do feel that AI may offer us some opportunities to do the personalization down into that 20% a little more efficiently than what it would be today.
Lucy, you were going to say something before?
No, I was just going to tag on to what he was saying before in regards to the fact that no two value exchanges are the same, but it's the same for publishers as well, right? No two publishers are the same. Newsletters may work for news sites versus other sites and content. So that's just something to think about. That's what I was tagging on there. But
Yep.
looks like there's another comment as well, or question too. Do you see that?
Yeah, it looks like Jason basically said, same here. Good to know. We really do need to become like marketers, data science folks, right? So thanks for
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've talked to some like VCs and some investors, and they say, hey, the world is going towards 100% one-to-one personalized content for every single user, and it's going to be AI powered. And obviously, that world is both farther away than we think and also closer than we think in some levels, right?
Yeah.
It's just like the world is moving so fast, and that ultimately is really scary for publishers. But at the end of the day, the common theme here is you got to build the infrastructure to build the data, to collect the signals, so that when that future is here, you've done the investment, you're not playing catch up, and you're ready for it. You're ready to deploy, you're ready to deploy partners. Because any partner that you work with is going to want to plug into data, no matter what. Every future AI, every future algorithm, every future machine learning system all needs data to feed off of. And so the more you build the infrastructure, the better. So well,
Absolutely.
yeah, Andy, I really appreciate your time today. I know you're super busy, so we're going to let you get back to Q4 ad revenue targets, and thank you very much for your time.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much.